I'm just sitting here.
Hi guys, I'm Leigh, and my channel is called Book Omens. I thought it would be a lot of fun to start a booktube channel, so that's what I'm doing. This is going to be a book haul. I recently placed an order with, let's see here, it escapes me. I recently placed an order with Book Outlet. They had a sale, and so I mean it brought some of the books down to like $1.67. Much too good a deal to pass up. So I am going to show some of those, and then I have a few other books I've acquired. I like to basically get books at, you know, deeply discounted prices, or I will find books in used bookstores and things like that. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. Okay, where to start? This is just completely random, but this might show you some of my reading tastes, and, you know, as I make videos, I'll talk more about that. So to begin with, I got The Chaos of Standing Still. From what I remember of the synopsis, I don't know too much about this, but the main character has a friend who died, and there is a text on her phone that was the last text she received from her friend, and she's afraid to read it. I'm mainly interested in it because it talks about grief and what she's going through, and so that's my draw to the book. And then I grabbed Betrayal by R.L. Stine. Now, this is a 3-book bind-up. This is like the beginning of Fear Street, or the history of how Fear Street got started. I never read Fear Street when I was growing up, but R.L. Stine was really big. His Fear Street series was really big when I was that age. I was like the target demographic for it, but I didn't really, for some reason, ever get into reading Fear Street. Weirdly, I thought it might be too scary for me, but also I am someone who at the age of, you know, 12, 13, 14, 15, I was reading Stephen King. So that doesn't really make sense why I never read R.L. Stine, but I thought this might be fun to start with. And then I grabbed 3 books that are completely a cover by. They're in a series, and the first one is called The Potion Diaries. I just thought these covers were adorable. The synopsis talks about the main character, Princess Nova, and she accidentally poisons herself with a love potion. So that just sounds really fun. And then the next 2 books in the series, I don't know their order, but we have The Potion Diaries going viral. This is the cover that caught my attention. I just think these are really pretty. I love the bright colors on them. And then The Potion Diaries Royal Tour. And then I got 2 box sets. The first one is the Six of Crows duology. So we have The Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I have not read these books yet. I know they're very popular. I've been wanting to, but I have been kind of confused about the fact whether I should read the other books that come in this series, because I've heard that you can read these independently, and I think I've decided that I'm just going to go into this. And then the last thing I got from the Book Outlet sale was this box set of the Lunar Chronicles. So we have Cinder, Scarlett, Cress, Winter, Stars Above, and then Fairest. And they're retellings, but like with sci-fi. So I'm excited to get to these sometime in the future. The next thing I did recently was I joined Book of the Month, and the 2 books I picked were Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, and I already read this. I loved it. As you get to know me, you'll learn that I read mostly backlisted books, and this past year I've been focusing on a lot of middle grade books. And I also read a lot of really older, like, vintage books. I love Agatha Christie, you know, Jane Austen, classic books like that. But I'm trying to increase reading more recently published books. And so that's why I got this. And I loved it. It was fantastic. I will definitely be reading more Ruth Ware in the future. And then I also picked up House of Salt and Sorrows. From what I understand, this is a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling. And then at the end of August, I took my kids to Barnes & Noble, and we had a book day, and I got myself 3 books. First thing I picked up was Dead Voices. This is the sequel to Small Spaces by Katherine Arden, and I am so excited to read this book. I read Small Spaces, and I loved it. It was really good. And one thing I've also been wanting to do is check out some more middle grade books that I read when I was younger. like Mary Downing Hahn, for example, scary middle grade books. It came out in 2015. And so since I've been looking into some of her older works, I saw this and I was like, oh, well, I need to read that. It looks creepy, but it's middle grade, and I think it'll be a lot of fun to read. And one last thing. This is completely another cover buy. I buy books because of their covers sometimes. This is called Scary Stories for Young Foxes. And it's adorable. I love this cover. It's just everything I could want in a cover. And from what I understand, this is short stories about foxes. Let me read a little bit of the synopsis. It says, the haunted season has arrived in the Antler Wood. No fox kit is safe. 7 little foxes in the twisted Antler Wood, listening to stories much later than they should. The first flees the teacher with dark, gooey eyes, the second from 6 sisters whose tongue tells lies. The third escapes a woman who peels foxes' skins. The fourth slinks away from the Golgother's grin. That's a word. The fifth wets the ground when he smells Mr. Scratch. The sixth turns tail when the paw finds its match. The 7th little fox in the wood all alone, facing down a ghost beneath branches of bone. One little fox stays the whole night through, but can she make it to the end? Better yet, can you? And then I have a stack of books that are from my local used bookstore. My library has a bookstore attached to it where they sell books, clearly, used books that are anywhere from 25 cents to $2. I like to pick up classic books there because then I can give them a try, and if I don't like them, then, you know, it's not a big deal. But also, I really love vintage covers. So, for example, I found this copy of Romeo and Juliet. It's a movie copy. And when I was in 10th grade, this is the movie we watched when we read Romeo and Juliet. Now, I don't love the play Romeo and Juliet. I find it very problematic and also kind of ridiculous, but I do love Shakespeare, and so therefore I got this. And then I found this copy of Lord of the Flies. I've never seen this cover before, and I really like it. Again, I don't love Lord of the Flies, but I have found myself wanting to reread classics that I read when I was younger. And so that's why I got this. Reading it as an adult would definitely be different because, again, I read it in like 9th grade, 10th grade. And so I didn't like it then, but, you know, with an adult's perspective, things might shift. And I find it interesting to read with that idea in mind. So, and then I found this interesting copy. It's called A Seaman's Selection of Great Sea Stories by Alan Villiers. I just really liked the cover. And here is a copy I found of Pride and Prejudice. Now this edition is from 1956. It's a Riverstone edition. It's beautiful. And Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen is one of my favorite authors. And then another author I'm a fan of is I really enjoy Douglas Adams. And I found this. It is called The Deeper Meaning of Liff, L-I-F-F, by Douglas Adams and John Lloyd. It's a dictionary of things there aren't any words for yet. And I have glanced through this a little bit, and there are just some really funny words. For example, Brumby, the fake antique plastic seal on a pretentious whiskey bottle. Leeming, the business of making silly faces at babies. Lagaward, motorist's name for the kind of pedestrian who stands beside a main road and waves on the traffic as if it's his right of way. And another cool thing I found was this little vintage yearling book of Now We Are Six by A.A. Milne. I like vintage yearling books and also Apple paperbacks, vintage ones. I mean, clearly they're vintage. So I thought this one would be fun because of Halloween. It's called Great Ghosts by Daniel Cohen. And I actually do read these. They're really fun. The quirkier the cover, the better, in my opinion. It just brings back a bunch of nostalgia for me because I read these when I was a kid. And then I picked up Fudgemania because, again, I loved Judy Blume when I was young. Here's another classic. I have never seen this cover before. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I love this cover. And another one, Miss Marple, The Complete Short Stories. I think this was like 50 cents. It was a good deal. I'm a huge Agatha Christie fan as well. I mean, clearly I read a lot. That's why I'm making a video about books. And let's see, The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. And I also found The Two Towers. I'm sure this one at some point had a special cover, like a dust jacket, but that's gone at this point. But this is an illustrated edition. Let me see if I can find an illustration. And this was 25 cents. It's just, it used to be a library copy. You can see discard in there, but there's the map. I have 4 more books. And another thing I've started getting recently are script books. They are so fun. And I picked up some Monty Python books. So this is Monty Python's Flying Circus, Volume 1, All the Words. And then also Volume 2. When I was in high school in the 90s, I was lucky enough to live in England through my dad's job, and therefore I am perfectly primed at that time to get into 90s comedy, like The Vicar of Dibley or Keeping Up Appearances, Mr. Bean, quirky comedies like that. And through that, I also discovered Monty Python, so I'm a huge fan of theirs. I picked up Monty Python and the Holy Grail, the book. This is the script to the movie. And the last thing I picked up was a script book for Notting Hill. All right, so that is the end of my book haul. I am excited to become a part of this community, so please comment down below and say hi. I'll say hi back. I am also on Instagram. My handle over there is bookomens.marilee. I'll leave a link in the description. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys soon in a new video. Bye!